You know that feeling of peace you get when you finally accepted the breakup? It's to the point where you're ready to move on from your ex when boom, the infamous text arrives. It's either happened to you or someone you know, or maybe you were that person. My name is Tiara, and today we're going to talk about exes and the questions you should ask yourself when one wants you back. Now, obviously, when an ex wants you back, you're going to have many questions, the biggest one being, what should you do? But before we dive into the questions you should ask yourself when an ex pops back into your life like a jump scare, hi sisters! Let's first consider why an ex might be trying to meddle their way back into your life. I've narrowed it down to 5 possible reasons, all in the category of a specific type of ex. Let's start with ex number 1, the undercover hater. This ex sees you're doing better without them and they don't like that. No, they don't. It bruises their fragile ego. The thought of you living a better, happy life without them in the picture insults them. Especially if they were the one to break up with you and then they see that your world is still spinning and that you're not heartbroken over them. It's kind of like they don't even exist to you anymore. That is literally the best revenge. They won't be able to wrap their head around it. It might even intrigue them. So they'll come back because they're curious. It might feel great at first to show an ex what they're missing out on because, let's face it, you're amazing, but you don't need to prove anything to them. Stop letting irrelevant people disturb your peace. Moving on to ex number 2, the shoulda, coulda, woulda. This is a disappointing one because you might be their phantom ex. For those that don't know, a phantom ex is usually seen in avoidant behavior. If you are someone's phantom ex, you are the one that got away. They might not miss you initially after the breakup, but after some time has passed, they only remember the good parts of the relationship and daydream or fantasize about getting back with you. They miss the emotional connection and reminisce on your failed relationship. Don't mistake this feeling for being genuine. Most of the time, it's not. The phantom ex syndrome is dangerous because at the end of the day, there's a reason why the two of you broke up. Breakups are a sign of incompatibility. The idea of being someone's phantom ex might sound nice, but that feeling doesn't really tend to last, especially if you guys try to work things out again. Eventually, they're likely to lose interest. Think of it like you're an itch they need to scratch. Ex number 3. The nonchalant. This ex figures that enough time has passed that you'll have forgotten about the breakup and be willing to give you guys another shot. They'll just show up and act like everything's fine.
Hey. How y'all doing?
Or maybe they figure that the two of you can just be on good terms. Or maybe they truly do just want to be friends. But to me, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. And yes, you could argue that two people can break up and remain good friends, but those cases are rare and they are the exception, not the rule. These nonchalant exes tend to be a little delusional. They're like me. They're just a little bit delusional. Just a little bit. And while it might not be their intention, they might even come off as manipulative. Because it's like they're testing to see just how far they can go when it comes to controlling your emotions. So they can break your heart, leave for a little bit, and then come back as if nothing happened. And you just let them? Every single time?
I ain't mad at you. I just want to talk to you.
Ex number 4. The nuisance. These exes are just bored and lonely. Maybe their rebound didn't work out, or maybe they just wanted to interrupt your healing journey because they were in a silly, goofy mood. Maybe they just wanted to wreak some havoc. Sometimes these exes might want something from you, whether that be your time, your body, or your energy. It doesn't matter. They just want it. They just takers. They're takers. All they do is take. They never want to give. They just take. They take. They are the most annoying and confusing out of all the exes. They're like a little gnat that won't stop flying in front of your face. And even if you call them out on their BS, they'll refuse to admit that they're being a nuisance.
Touching me. She's touching me.
I'm not touching you.
You're touching me.
Not touching.
Touching me.
I'm already tired of talking about this ex. Aren't you tired of them randomly showing up into your life like clockwork? Don't even entertain this person. I'm gonna do what you should do if you're caught up in this predicament. Move on to the next. Ex number 5, the regretful. I feel for this ex. This ex genuinely does regret losing you and they have pure intentions on wanting you back. And they still obviously care about you. These exes are in the minority, and you'll probably notice a lot of positive change and growth in their character when they come back asking for forgiveness. These exes are a slippery slope though, because if you aren't careful, they could be mistaken for the shoulda, coulda, woulda ex. You could be like, oh, this is a regretful ex, when really it's a shoulda, coulda, woulda. So you gotta be careful. It's like there's a fine line between the two, so you gotta be able to differentiate. Obviously, that list of exes was very short and specific. I didn't mention every single type of ex out there, and not every person's experience with an ex is going to be universal, but I do think that the 5 exes I mentioned are the ones that usually do try to come back. If you're able to figure out which ex it is you're dealing with, it can help to make things a little easier when deciding what to do, and also a little less confusing. Now it is time to ask yourself the 5 self-reflecting questions that will hopefully help guide you on what you should do next moving forward. Number 1, how did you allow yourself to be treated during the relationship? Now this question obviously doesn't apply if physical abuse was involved, but it's important to remember that people, in most cases, treat us how we allow them to. Was this person disrespectful to you, your family, or your friends? Did they fail to take your feelings into account? Did you feel like a priority to them? Question number 2, why did the relationship end? It's time to take some accountability. While your ex might have been the one to end it, you both equally played a role in the relationship. Avoid shifting the blame here. Try to take everything into account and realize what exactly led up to your relationship failing. This will help you to see things from a bigger picture. Question number 3. Were your needs unfulfilled during the relationship? We all have emotional wants and needs in a relationship. Write out a list of your non-negotiables and see if your ex met them or not. What do you absolutely need in a relationship, and did your ex do a good job at providing that for you? Or did it feel like you always had to remind them of your needs? Did it ever feel like you had to chase after their love or prove yourself worthy of receiving it? Question number 4. What sacrifices did you make during the relationship? Now, obviously, relationships require sacrifice to an extent, but there's a difference between healthy or necessary sacrifice and sacrificing too much. Did you set aside your values and beliefs to please this person? Did you ignore your deal breakers or let them overstep your boundaries? Did you feel like you could be yourself with them? Did you give up on a dream for the sake of being with them? And lastly, question number 5. This is the most important question, so you really need to think about this one. What is your gut telling you? Try to think logically, not emotionally. Our body is able to pick up on bad vibrations. It can send us signals to let us know when something is off. It can be a voice of reason that's trying to tell us the truth we already know, but just don't want to admit to ourselves. A lot of the time when we ignore our gut instinct, we end up hurt in the end. What is your gut trying to tell you about this person? If it doesn't feel right, don't engage. I am 21 years old. Clearly I don't have it all figured out, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. But if you are dealing with an undercover hater, a shoulda, coulda, woulda, a nuisance ex, or a nonchalant ex, one thing I'm certain of is that you should never let loneliness or the false idea of never falling in love again drive you back to a person that gives you inconsistency and makes you feel confused, hard to love, unseen, or just unworthy. You are deserving of so much more. And remember that our relationships are a reflection of our worth and what we think we deserve. Just because you miss this person isn't a sign that you need to get back with them, or even interact with them, or even have them back in your life. Trust me when I say that feeling will fade if you allow enough time to pass and take the necessary steps towards healing. When an unworthy ex tries to return, I like to think of it as God or the universe sending us a final test to see if we're truly ready to move on and finally accept the bigger and better blessings that life has in store for us. Does this person even align with the new version of you? Do they fit into your dream life? If the answer is no, let them go. If you do not want your ex back into your life, set a boundary with them. You don't need to over-explain yourself or apologize or get angry at them. Just be honest and say that you'd rather not keep in contact with them and that you've moved on. Make yourself unavailable to them. This might upset them, but it's not your problem if it does. If you do decide to let your ex back into your life, set a boundary with them. It doesn't mean that you have to get back together right away or at all. Let them know that you aren't the same person that you were before the breakup, which means you won't accept the same treatment as before. Communicate your wants and needs. If this ex truly cares about you, they will respect your boundaries, especially if they've grown and changed during your time apart. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope it was able to give you clarity and help you to decide what you should do when your ex wants you back. Many people, myself included, have had to make the same tough decision as you right now. Always remember that no two situations are exactly the same, which means the only person that can truly understand what you're going through is you. Consider my tips. Ask yourself the necessary questions to help guide your decision on whether or not you're going to allow this person to re-enter your life. But your final decision should be yours and yours alone. No one else's. Trust yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the one that knows what's best for you because you know yourself best. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.